Welcome to another book summary where we uncover the life-changing wisdom hidden in the world's most powerful books, summarized to transform how you think, live, and grow. Imagine finding purpose amidst unimaginable suffering. How does a person survive the darkest moments of their life when everything, freedom, dignity, and even loved ones, is taken from them? Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, not only endured the horrors of concentration camps, but also discovered a profound truth that continues to resonate. Even in the face of suffering, we can find meaning. Man's search for meaning takes us deep into the psyche of the human spirit and shows that no matter the circumstances, life holds value, if we know where to look. Man's Search for Meaning, Part 1. Experiences in a concentration camp. In the first part of the book, Viktor Frankl recounts his harrowing experiences as a prisoner in Nazi concentration camps, including Auschwitz. However, this is not just a memoir. It's an exploration of the psychological journey of individuals subjected to extreme suffering. The initial shock. Upon entering the camp, prisoners faced an initial shock. The abrupt removal from normal life, the dehumanizing conditions, and the brutal treatment created an overwhelming sense of disbelief. This phase, Frankl explains, is one of numbness, a psychological defense mechanism to cope with the unbearable. Apathy. As the weeks went by, apathy set in. The repeated exposure to death, starvation, and cruelty dulled the prisoners' emotions. Frankl explains how this apathy became a necessary adaptation for survival. Once a person became indifferent to their surroundings, and even to the suffering of others, they could focus solely on surviving day to day. The loss of identity. One of the key experiences of the camp was the complete stripping away of personal identity. Prisoners were reduced to numbers, names were forgotten, and individual worth was systematically erased. Frankl details the dehumanization process, how every aspect of one's humanity was removed until all that was left was the raw instinct for survival. Moments of meaning. Despite the overwhelming suffering, Frankl noticed moments where prisoners found meaning in small acts, helping one another, sharing food, or simply comforting a fellow prisoner. These fleeting experiences of kindness amidst barbarity served as reminders of their humanity. The capo system. Frankl explains the capo system, in which prisoners were chosen by SS officers to manage the work details of fellow inmates. These capos often became more brutal than the guards themselves, desperate to preserve their slightly elevated status. This highlights how even in hellish circumstances, individuals could lose their moral compass. Survival through inner freedom. Frankl's central idea is that even in the most dire circumstances, one can find an inner freedom. This freedom lies in choosing how to react to suffering. While the guards controlled every aspect of the prisoner's physical existence, they could not control the prisoner's inner world. Frankl argues that this ability to find meaning, even in suffering, was key to surviving the camp. Part 2. Logotherapy. In a nutshell, the second part of the book is dedicated to logotherapy, Frankl's psychological approach. Unlike Freud, who believed that pleasure was the driving force of human motivation, or Adler, who focused on power, Frankl's logotherapy posits that the primary drive in life is the search for meaning. The will to meaning. At the core of logotherapy is the concept of the will to meaning. Frankl argues that humans are not motivated by the pursuit of pleasure or power, but by the need to find meaning in their lives. When individuals cannot find meaning, they experience existential frustration, which can manifest as anxiety, depression, or a sense of emptiness. The existential vacuum. Frankl describes modern society's existential vacuum, where people, particularly in the post-World War II world, suffer from a sense of aimlessness and disconnection. Without meaning, people fill the vacuum with distractions, materialism, pleasure, and superficial goals. But these pursuits are ultimately unsatisfying. Discovering meaning. Frankl explains that meaning can be found in three principal ways: by creating a work or doing a deed. Meaning can come from engaging in something that transcends the self, such as contributing to society through creativity or work. By experiencing something or encountering someone. Love, relationships, beauty, and nature provide meaning. Frankl argues that through love, one can glimpse the deepest essence of another person and find profound meaning in that connection. By the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. Frankl's most famous assertion is that even in suffering, there is the potential to find meaning. He emphasizes that suffering in itself is not necessary for finding meaning, but when suffering is unavoidable, we can choose our attitude toward it and thus find meaning in how we endure it. Tragic optimism. Frankl introduces the concept of tragic optimism, the ability to remain optimistic despite the inevitability of pain, guilt, and death. It's about finding hope and purpose even in tragic situations. He insists that life has meaning under all circumstances, even in extreme suffering. Part 3. Meaning in life. In this final section, Frankl elaborates on how the search for meaning applies in everyday life, beyond the extreme example of the concentration camps. Freedom of choice. One of Frankl's core teachings is that while we cannot always control our circumstances, we can control our reactions. This is the essence of human freedom. He argues that each person is responsible for finding their own meaning in life, and this search often requires active engagement with life's challenges. The role of responsibility. With freedom comes responsibility. Frankl emphasizes that each individual must take responsibility for their own actions and decisions. Meaning is not handed to us. It is something we must discover through our choices. This sense of responsibility is critical for leading a meaningful life. Life's transitoriness. Frankl discusses the temporary nature of life, arguing that the fleetingness of life adds urgency and value to each moment. Knowing that life is finite should push individuals to seek meaning now, rather than postponing it for some distant future. He stresses that meaning can change from moment to moment, and that every situation presents a new opportunity for finding purpose. Meaning in work. Frankl highlights how work can be a source of meaning. He explains that meaningful work isn't necessarily about fame or recognition, but about contributing something of value to the world. Even the most mundane tasks can be infused with meaning if we approach them with the right mindset. Meaning in love. Frankl devotes time to discussing the deep meaning that can be found in love. He asserts that love is one of the highest forms of meaning-making, as it allows us to transcend ourselves by fully understanding and appreciating another person. He views love as a powerful tool for personal transformation. The meaning of suffering. Frankl reiterates that suffering, while never desirable, can provide meaning when it is inevitable. He gives examples of patients who found deep meaning in enduring their pain with dignity. Frankl stresses that life's difficulties, while challenging, can be opportunities for growth and personal development. The superiority of man's spirit. Frankl closes by reaffirming the indomitable nature of the human spirit. He argues that humans have an incredible capacity for resilience, and it is through our ability to find meaning in suffering that we demonstrate the strength of the human soul. No matter the circumstance, each person has the power to define their life and infuse it with meaning. Central takeaways. Meaning is central to life. The primary drive in human life is not pleasure or power, but the search for meaning. This meaning can be found through work, love, and even suffering. Inner freedom. Even when everything is stripped away, humans have the ability to choose their response to their circumstances. This inner freedom is the essence of human dignity and strength. Responsibility and purpose. It is each individual's responsibility to discover meaning in their own life. This search requires active engagement, a willingness to embrace suffering, and the ability to create purpose through actions, relationships, and personal growth. Tragic optimism. Despite life's inevitable suffering, guilt, and death, it is possible to remain optimistic. Life has meaning under all circumstances, even in tragedy, if we choose to find it. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning is not just a memoir of survival. It is a guide to understanding the profound importance of meaning in life. His experiences in the concentration camps reveal that even in the most horrific situations, individuals can maintain their humanity by finding meaning in their suffering. Through his development of logotherapy, Frankl shows how we can all transcend pain and despair by actively seeking meaning in our lives. Whether through work, love, or how we endure the inevitable hardships of life, we each have the power to shape our existence and live meaningfully. If you like this summary, give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, have a good one.